Good afternoon. My name is Ernestina Caballero. I go by Tina. And my topic for my research was the influence culture has on language in the Rio Grande Valley. So I chose this topic because as a third generation Mexican American with grandparents that migrated from Mexico, I do not speak fluent Spanish. I only speak broken up Spanish. Spanish in my household was often used as like a secret language that my parents would speak in if they were talking about something that they didn't want me to know or they thought didn't pertain to me. So this topic is interesting to me because as I began to converse with more and more people in my age group and with similar upbringings, I noticed that their experience was very similar to mine. They too did not speak fluent Spanish. In fact, since I didn't grow up speaking fluent Spanish, now my kids who are part of Generation Z don't speak Spanish at all, which is kind of obvious, right? So in my family, we went from being Spanish only speaking or having Spanish only speaking grandparents to my parents who had Spanish as their first language and English as their second, to my generation, which now only speaks English, and as well as my kids only speaking English. So that's a lot of change that's happened over the last 4 generations. So my hypothesis in this research was that American culture has influenced the diminishment of Spanish-speaking Latinos in the Rio Grande Valley. Since I'm in my late 30s, I had expectations and assumptions about what I would find out about my Gen Z classmates, which are also the same age as a lot of my kids. So I expected to see that although Spanish was spoken as a first language in their household, that they speak English more often in order to go to school, work, interact with their peers, that Spanish didn't have much room in their day-to-day lives. I completely understand that we reside in the United States, but over the last 2 centuries, there has been such a significant change in the language of the land. So how I defined my terminology. So the terminology that I used in my survey or my questionnaire was pretty simple for the most part. I asked things like pertaining to age, gender, language spoken. I did have to give a little bit more context when I asked the question, are you of Mexican descent? I had to put in parentheses, did your parents or grandparents origins come from Mexico? So I chose this particular methodology, which was a survey through a website called Cognito Forms. Because I'm familiar with it, I use it often in my work life. B, the survey was easy to create and it's easy to edit and share. And so I just grabbed that link after I was done with it and I shared it with my peers in a WhatsApp group that I have with other people from the course. There's 38 of them, so I knew that if I shared it, I only needed 10 people to respond. My sample would be very random. So what possible consequences could arise from the evidence that I have found was the diminishment of a language completely. I know that that sounds very dramatic, right? But we have seen it happen in other cultures with, for example, with the Haitians, their language, Haitic or Hattic, has completely disappeared. And like, again, I know that sounds very dramatic, but in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of change. So what's to say that 2 generations from now, we will see less and less Spanish speaking people, even though Latinos are beginning to be make up the majority. We just don't know. So yeah, thank you for your time.